Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Studio Live. Today, in this video, we are talking all about files, file management in iOS, on iPhone, on iPad, on GarageBand as well, GarageBand iOS. So, if that's the sort of thing you're interested in, stick around. We'll be answering some of your questions. I'll be taking you through a bunch of information. So, we've got iOS 13 now, we've got iPad OS 13, and the file management has become a lot better. I've already done some videos on this, but I thought it was time to do a quick review and refresh. So if you already know your way around the Files app, then you're going to hopefully go, yes, I know all that, tick, 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 but maybe you'll pick up something new. And if you are new to Files app or you're just struggling with some of your file management, then this is going to be for you. So we're talking locations, so storing things in the cloud or on your iPhone or your iPad. We're talking about Google Drive and Dropbox. We're talking about iCloud Drive and how you can upgrade your storage if you so desire, copying and moving files around, deleting and adding folders, zipping and unzipping, and some of the common file errors that you may come across as well. And then what is a GarageBand project file? How do we actually use it? Why do we need to zip it up? And how do we share it to collaborate with other folks as well? So that's a lot to cover, and we're going to be here for about the next hour. Now, for those that are here live, thank you. If you've got questions, comments, anything you want to let me know, drop that down in the comments. I will be checking in with you as we go along because I wanted this to be a Q&A as well. So if you've got any questions that you want asked, what I'm putting together today, the content we're going through is based on questions that I've been getting, especially in the last 2 to 3 weeks since iOS 13 and iPad OS has hit the not stores, has hit the App Store. I guess it is hitting the stores. But yes, if you've got your own questions, please drop them. And a big apology because I got my butt kicked by daylight saving time. You would think at the age of 40 I would figure out the whole 1 hour thing. But yeah, I was all planned. I was all ready to go. I was doing my thing, and then I sort of checked one clock and it said 7:30, and I thought, oh, I've got heaps of time. Still got half an hour before the show, and then another one that said 8:30 on my phone, and I went, oh yeah, that's right. It's not actually 7:30. It's now 8:30, and I scheduled this for 8 o'clock New World Time, Eastern Central Summer Time. Anyway, you don't need to know that, but I did want to say that because apologies to the folks who joined up here live and were like, "Hey, where's Pete? He said he'd be here at this time." That is not good. So yes, my apologies on that one, but we're going to jump in again and hope you get some value out of this. And if you have been hanging around for 45 minutes waiting for me, I especially hope you get some value. Let's bring in the screen here because we're going to need our iPad, aren't we? And the easiest way to show you some iPad related stuff is to have my iPad plugged in and ready to go, which I do here. I realize I've got no sound plugged in for the iPad, but thankfully I still have an iPad that has a headphone jack, so I can quickly and easily plug this in to. Wow, you didn't want to hear that, did you? What I'll do is I'll turn the volume down on that channel, and then I will quickly plug in so that we have some audio. Everything's going well. I say this every week, but there's two good things. As we lose the iPad there. There's two good things about live shows, and in a perfect world, you get to see, a well-oiled machine and a live show that everything goes to plan, or you get to see like a train wreck, and either way is kind of fun. So this looks like it might be along the train wreck line. Now I've lost my screen share from my iPad. So let me just rectify this. I should have just I probably don't even need sound. That's the weird thing. It's probably, I'll stop the mirroring there. We'll come back. I use Reflector 3, by the way, this little app here behind the scenes stuff, which should work. I may need to restart the app, but if I select screen mirroring there, bingo, it's popped up over here on my other screen. We'll drag it across and yeah, there we go. That's going to do us. That's going to do it for now. And we'll jump into the Files app because this is what we're going to be talking about throughout this video. We'll have the screen up there so that you can see what is going on. And I've got my mouse here so that I can actually point at stuff with my mouse, and it'll make it easier for you to see what I'm clicking and tapping on, because it can be hard when you're not seeing my finger actually touching to know where I'm touching and where I'm clicking and tapping. So let's give you, by the way, I got so caught up in all the other thing, I haven't done my usual thing, which is saying who I am and what this is, but probably too late now. I'm Pete, this is Studio Live today. My goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music, and I do a lot of mine on GarageBand and using my iPad or iPhone, so that is what I will be showing you here today. And one of the things I want to do actually is The reason I'm doing this is I have to do this anyway because I'm about to export my most recent song, my most recent project, and then I'm going to make that available for you to download the GarageBand project or the stems, so the WAV files, if you want to use a different DAW, so that you can bring in those tracks, you can play with them, you can mix them, you can double the speed and make me sound like a chipmunk. I don't care. I'm going to make that publicly available for anyone who wants to download it. So I have to come in and do some of this file stuff anyway, and I have to explain how to actually download and then unzip a zipped up file on your iPhone or iPad. So we're going to be showing that in this video. Let's say a quick g'day before we jump in here. I want to say shout out to you, Amarasaya. We've got Sene Cruz. Hello, you. Mr. Rad's Variety Channel is here. We've got Rick Lisk, my man, the man in the hat from Canada. Just Because is here. Juan Gonzalez. Hello to you. Benedict Stewart. Always great to see you here. And other folks here. Bobcorn and yes, other folks that I've probably missed. I apologize. We'll jump back and I'll chat to you as we go through. So let's get started. I'm going to go to my notes here, make sure that I know what I'm talking about. So let's talk locations. So when we're talking about files here on the iPad or the iPhone, there's two main locations that you're going to have. And they're over here. I'll grab my mouse. Over here on the left, when you go into the Files app, which is a default app that's right here on your iPhone or your iPad, you're going to have your location set up here as iCloud Drive, which is your online storage. So this is where we can store things and they're replicated to the cloud. If you log in with an iPhone or a different device or another iPad, you're going to see the same things. And I'll talk a little bit in detail about why that's good and sometimes why it's not good as we go through. We've also got on my iPad, which is either on my iPad or on my iPhone, and this is local storage. So the beauty of this is that it's right there on your phone or your tablet, and the negative of it is that it's not backed up anywhere. So if you have things stored on here, so if you've got your GarageBand projects on here, as I have done before, and something goes wrong, if you don't have a backup copy, then these are lost forever. So that is why iCloud Drive is a good place. If someone's a beginner, if you're starting out with files and you don't know where to start your first GarageBand project, go to iCloud Drive, go to your GarageBand for iOS folder, and then start your new projects in there. And you'll see here that I've got my file structure set up here in my iCloud Drive, because that means that they are automatically backed up, which is a good thing. Now you'll notice other locations down the side here. So these will vary depending on which apps you have installed. So for instance, I've got the iCab mobile browser, I've got audio share, and my audio share files can be accessed directly from here. And the beauty part of this is that I've got Google Drive, OneDrive, Documents, and Dropbox here, which is what I'll be using to demonstrate in this in terms of how to actually share files. So for instance, if I click on Google Drive there, then this is my Google Drive. So I've got a GarageBand folder in here, which has some zipped up files of some previous projects, and I'm going to use these as a bit of a demo to show you how to do this. So we can zip up project files and then put them on Google Drive and then send someone a link to that Google Drive, and then they can actually go ahead and open it. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, although I'll probably use Dropbox when I actually share my project file for you folks to download and play with. So that's all of the things there. The other thing is recently deleted at the bottom here. This is an important one. You can see I've done some deleting of some things recently to do some cleaning up. And every time you delete something from anywhere in files, it doesn't actually delete. So like most things in iOS, and Apple kind of holds your hand and they're like, are you sure you want to delete it? And you're like, yes, Apple. But then it says, I don't trust you. I'm going to leave it here just in case you want to bring it back. So if we do want to bring back things here from the dead, from the recently deleted, so say this loops song I did actually want, if we click, oh, this document can't be found because it's recently deleted. Okay, so you can't open it. So we need to actually select first on here. We need to select which one we want, like this one. And if we click on recover, then that's going to actually recover it. Now, the thing is, you need to pay close attention to where it's stored, because otherwise you may not remember where it recovers it to. So let's do a quick test with this My Song. In fact, we'll rename it, because I was going to show you renaming at the same time as well. So how about we tap right here on the song, and this will go into our, we can't even rename it something. Let's see if we can select. No, we can't rename it while it's in the recently deleted. So we're going to have to move it and just hope. So we've hit select. We're going to tap My Song. And then if we go recover, it says here underneath here, it says on my iPad. So if we go recover, it's going to send it back. If we go back to on my iPad and into my GarageBand iOS, then what we should find is there was that. Where did it put it? There it is, my song. Okay, so we can go in there and we can open up my song and it will download it. There it is, and there's my song. It's been recovered and restored. So that is, oh, and yes, we're using AirPlay, so we won't get the audio going through. In fact, I'll just unplug and replug in. So if we do need audio, I can turn it up and we can get it. So that's the basics of deleting. Now, what you'll notice here, a lot of folks get into trouble because we're now in the GarageBand recent section here. And you'll notice here we don't have a select button. We don't have any way of actually doing much apart from opening these files. And whenever anyone gets stuck here and they're like, I don't have a select button, I can't copy, I can't move, I can't do anything, then 9 times out of 10, the problem is that they're in recent, and all they need to do is tap over here on browse and go back to the actual proper browse window, because from here, you can actually have your select button, you can select on your items, you've got all of your options down the bottom here to do things, which we'll be talking about in a moment, and everyone's happy. So, and if you do select something and you don't actually want to do anything with it, just hit done in the top right corner, and you'll be done. So that's the basics of your location. So if you want to store it on my iPad or on my iPhone, and then make sure that you make backup copies of it, more power to you. But keep in mind that if anything goes wrong, and it can and will, because it's digital and it's files, and files get corrupt. So if anything goes wrong, you lose it from there. If you're on your iCloud drive, then you know that you're always going to have that backup. That backup though, in fact, let's jump over. We're going to get a little bit we're going to move around a bit here, a bit organically. However, when you're using your iCloud drive, especially with GarageBand, which we're talking about here today, you get some issues. So let's jump into my GarageBand for iOS folder. And these issues happen mostly when you're working on projects where you're collaborating with someone else, and when you're working on projects on more than one device. So if, like me, you use your iPad when you're inside in the studio environment, then you take your iPhone with you, and then you might make some changes, then you come back, what can actually happen is that you can get multiple versions of your projects, which, if we scroll down here, you'll see has actually happened. So I've been working on a song with my daughter at the moment called Hope For You, and look at what happened. Because I've moved it between my XS here, my 10S phone, and Airhead, which happens to be my iPad Air 2 that I'm working on here, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different versions of this song. So that can get a little bit tricky. Now, what you can do is you can remove the older versions. So I know that this one is the right version, so I could actually go in and delete these. In fact, let's just show you how we can do that. We'll definitely can delete these two 30th of September ones. They're definitely old ones. So to delete these out of here, all we do is hit select, and then select both of these, and then down the bottom, we're going to hit delete, and they go away. Of course, they don't actually go away. They go into our recently deleted folder, which we showed you before, and then we can delete them from there. I realize I didn't show you how to delete from your recently deleted. I showed you how to recover, but the process is exactly the same. To delete, you just say delete all instead of recover all, or recover the particular one. So now we've sort of just got 3 versions. Now, let's take a look at what these little cloud icons mean here, because folks get confused about how iCloud Drive actually works and why sometimes you have a file that looks normal, file like this one here, which just looks normal, doesn't have any icon there. Sometimes you have this little download icon, and sometimes you have a separate cloud icon that doesn't have the download arrow. So let's go through the reasons for the 3 of these, starting with the download. So the reason this happens is that this is not on this device right now. So what Apple does, what your iOS does, is when you're running low on space, it removes things that are stored on your iCloud drive. Now, unfortunately, there's very few ways to control this in terms of actually making it do exactly what you want. So if you want something to stay on your device regardless, make sure it is stored over on my iPad or on my iPhone. It will never be offloaded or deleted or removed if it's in that location. If it's in your iCloud drive, then sometimes it will be offloaded. And if you're on the go and say you've got a 500 megabyte project and then suddenly it gets offloaded and you're on your mobile data, you don't want to be downloading 500 megabytes. So keep that in mind. Before you do major work, if you're on the go and you know you're not going to be near data for a long time, slide it over to on my iPhone or on my iPad, because there is no way to control if and when. And if you're like me and you're always running low on space, you don't want to be running out of space halfway through a project and then it offloading and not being able to do a thing. So that is the tip there. Now, if we want to bring this back in, we just tap on it And what it's going to do, you'll see there it says waiting to download. So it's now going to download. We do get a progress bar. Apple, please put progress bars on all of your transfers and downloads. When we're downloading, we get a progress circle. When you're transferring using the new USB files integration, we don't even get a circle. So that kind of sucks in my view. We need to know if it's working, especially if you're transferring a big, couple of gigabytes of files and you've got no idea whether it's crashed and is not working or whether it's actually just taking a seriously long time. That's kind of not good enough. Anyway, rant over. Well, I just needed to rant for those 30 seconds while we waited for this to download. And it still hasn't finished. But once it has finished in 3, 2, 1. Here I am praising them for their progress bar, and the progress bar doesn't even seem to work. It seems to have said, yes, it's downloading, it'll be there soon. And then you're like, oh, really? How soon? It's like, eventually. So yes, it's not actually showing up here. But what it will look like when it has downloaded is it will look like this file here. So let's just jump into this one, and then hopefully by the time we come out, again, it'll have actually done its thing. So yes, where it doesn't have anything here, it means that it's on your device, and it's got, it just worked. So there we go. That first one, as soon as it downloads, it opens up. And here's our project ready for us to start playing with and doing things with as we see fit. We'll tap in the top right corner, which I like this little icon now. It used to just say My Songs. Now it just has a nice little icon. We'll go back to My Songs. And what you'll notice here, if we find where it is, now it's got this icon, yeah? Actually, this is good to show. It's gone away again. But that little icon means that it's uploading to the cloud. So it doesn't have an arrow. If it's just a plain cloud, it means it's uploading to the cloud. It's sending any changes you've made on this project. Even though I made no changes, I just opened it and then closed it, it saves it, and then it sends any update to the cloud. Now, the good thing is it doesn't re-upload an entire... People will say, oh, no, it means that every time you're working on a 500 megabyte project, it's going to then upload that whole thing again. No, it's smart enough that it only uploads the changes. So if nothing's changed, it keeps all the files, and this is the beauty part of GarageBand projects that we'll talk about later. It keeps all the files in the same structure so that you don't have to worry. If you only have updated one track or one effect, it'll just send that change. So it's quite quick to actually update, and I'll show you more about that as we go on. Yes, this one is going to be quite in-depth, by the way. We'll be here for a while, but it should all be really good information if you are, like me, using GarageBand on iOS. Let's now open up my Hold On project, because this is the one that we're going to do a little bit of work on here today. So we open it up, it says loading Pete John's Hold On, and here we go. We've got all of this that we're going to play with, and what I'm basically going to do with this one, I'm going to do some tidying up first, because if I gave you access to this project, you probably don't need, maybe you want them, but there's like 6 different vocal takes in here that have all been chopped up. For size and for convenience, I'm probably going to merge down and render down this one vocal take so that you can play with that. Main reason being that if you're like me, there's little bits of audio at the start and the finish of all of these other vocal takes that you can like spread out. And I don't even know what I say there, but yeah, it's probably embarrassing. So I kind of don't want to share that. So sorry. If you are hoping to jump into my projects and find, Pete doing operatic warm-up routines before he sings his vocals live on the mic, then I'm going to remove those before I share this with you. So I'll go through and tidy this up, but the premise will be that I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to save out a version of this project, and then I'm going to zip it up, which I'll show you a version of in this video with a smaller project, and then you'll be able to download that zip file and then literally bring it straight into any of the locations on your iPad or your iPhone, tap on it, it will unzip, magically the .band project will be there, and then you can open it and play with it. So that should be hopefully pretty cool if that's something that you want to do. So when we go back out here, I'll tap here on the little icon in the top left and quickly look at the icon we have here. So yeah, that is that upload icon. So it's now uploading any changes. You can see down here, it says waiting to upload, and it says uploading 334 of 334 megabytes, and now it's done. So what it did a quick scan. It worked out what parts of that project needed to be updated and sent back to the cloud. It worked out I'd done nothing, and then it was able to upload straight away. So if I had added a track, if I'd removed the track, in fact, we'll probably show this when we do this later on. If we actually add or remove something, it'll change the size of the file, and then it will have to re-upload more information when we do that. So that is that. The other thing I'll mention, you might notice here that this What You Deserve project has like What You Deserve 2, What You Deserve 3. That's what I do with, that's a recommendation I have around version control. So when I'm working on a song, usually, you can see the same here with Perfect. It's got Perfect version 2. 2, perfect version 3. I do version control because you never quite know what's going to happen with a GarageBand project. They are at times prone to becoming corrupt and for weird, dodgy things to happen where they simply won't open again. And if you have just one project you work on the whole way through and you're like 1 month into a song and that one project file goes corrupt and you don't have any backups, you're going to be pretty upset. So if you, every time you do a major change, I usually end up with, depends on the length of the song, somewhere between 3 and 10 versions, depending how complex it is. But version control is super important. And in fact, I'm going to show you a couple of things that are going to help you with this right now. Because what we want to do, so this, hold on, this is the project I'm going to use eventually. Let's show you some of the file techniques that we use to actually duplicate, copy, move, do all these sort of things. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to work on this track, hold on. The first thing I want to do is make a duplicate copy of it. So to do that, I tap on the select button here in the top right corner, and then I tap on hold on here, and then down the bottom there, I tap on duplicate. So if we do that, presto changeo, Pete Johns, hold on to, we have that. And what you'll notice here is it's now waiting to upload. So it is now going to upload this entire project. Again, it's done it so quickly because it realizes that it's using all the exact same files as this one. So it's actually smart enough to not have to go, oh, I have to upload an entire 334 megabytes again. It's already uploaded to iCloud Drive. However, I don't want this on iCloud Drive. I want this on my iPad because that's where I want to do things. So what I need to do is tap on select in the top right corner again, tap on this one here. Now we can click and drag and move it across. I like to just use the move function down the bottom here. I find it's more accurate. You don't, accidentally drop it somewhere and then not know where it is. So we'll tap on move, and then we'll pop up here our little pop-up thing. We're going to tap down over here to get rid of iCloud Drive because we're going to tap out on my iPad, and we're going to scroll on down to GarageBand for iOS, and we're going to just leave it right here. So that's where we want to put this project. We're going to tap copy in the top right corner, and there you go. It's copied that file over onto my iPad. What I can now do, and what I suggest you do for cleanup, is select this one, tap it, and delete it. So we don't want that anymore. We're going to get rid of it. Now you can see here that you can quickly end up with a lot of wasted space here, and that's why it's important to visit your recently deleted items on a regular basis, because here you can see we've once again added to our deleted items section. So what I'm going to do is select in the top right corner, and I'm going to delete all because I know I don't need any of these files back. Sure, I want to delete them, I'm sure. Now, sometimes, because Files uses files across iCloud Drive, across Google Drive, Dropbox, all these different places, you may get some weird errors and some things that don't quite work, and you may have to do things twice. Or, in the case of, say, Dropbox or Google Drive, sometimes it doesn't link properly. So here I'm tapping on Dropbox again. It has linked okay that time, but if it doesn't link up properly, then, yeah, you do need to go directly in using the app, the Dropbox or the Google Drive app, and delete it from there. So you are all good there. Let's go back to on my iPad and go into GarageBand for iOS, because what we should find is, apart from Pete being really disorganized with stuff here, is that Pete Johns hold on to is here. Now the first thing I probably want to do here is rename this file. So to rename, now there's a weird bug when we are trying to rename using the mouse. It has caused some issues. Now, I haven't tried this since 13.1.2, so I'm going to tap on this and see if it has the same error here. Oh, it's working. Brilliant. So before it would just bring up some weird box and it would crash files. Looks like they've rectified that. So what I'm going to do is call this Pete Johns, hold on, GarageBand project, so that when I eventually get around to sort of editing this down and sharing it, that's what it will be called on the Dropbox or the Google Drive, wherever I end up putting it. And now we can reopen this again and take a look. And there we are inside it. So because I know I'm going to do some of these deletions, let's show you what happens when we edit a track here now, and the impact to the file. So I know that we don't want any of these additional vocals. Again, sorry if you want all of Pete's bad vocal takes, but we're going to get rid of them. So we're going to tap right here on the microphone icon. We're going to tap delete, and then we're going to keep doing this for all of these other vocal takes. And I know I can safely do this because my original version is sitting nicely over on iCloud Drive and will not be impacted at all. So all we need to do is get rid of all of these. Boom. And we're left with just our final vocal comp and our lead vocal harmony. Now, if I wanted to add in other tracks here, I could as well, and then any updates I make would be there, but we'll leave it like that for now. If we now tap in the top left corner to go away from here, it's going to resave this out, and look what's happened here. It's now a 252 megabyte project file. So that's cool, because when I do share this eventually, I don't want you to have a massive download. It's already going to be about 250 megabytes. So by the time I render down these files, it'll probably be slightly smaller again. And then, yeah, you can download the zip file and bring it into your iPhone or iPad to play around with. And you will need iOS 13 and the latest version, because that's the other thing to mention here. Any projects that you share, generally you want to make sure you've got the same version. Some will work with like iOS 12 and the last version of GarageBand, because there's no specific new features that are in here, but compatibility can be an issue with that. So let's show you now how we would zip up this file. So if you're probably thinking, this is all good, this is all nice, Pete, but what if I want to back up my project file and I don't have much room left on my iCloud drive, or I don't have much room left on my iPad or iPhone? How do I do it? Let's do it now. But I'm not going to use this project file because it's very large and it will take a lot longer. I'm actually going to repurpose this My Song file because it's a very small project file and it will make it quicker for the demonstration. So let's rename it now that we can. We'll rename this to Zip Demo Project, just so I know exactly what I'm doing with it. And there it is. Let's just open it. I can't even remember what this is. What was I doing? Like a bass line or something? Let's turn up the volume. I'm just intrigued as to what I actually played. Oh, it's a funky little loop. Fair enough. All right, that's enough. Well, that's enough. Thank you. So yeah, so we've got this. If we go to track view, looks like it's just a bass. It is. It's a bass and a drum kit. So go figure. So this is what we've got. We're going to tap on, again, the files in the top left to go back. Now, because we are on my iPhone, on my iPad location, there are no cloud icons. It's not downloading. It's not uploading. It's just saving it directly to your device. Now, that can be better with big projects sometimes because it can be quicker. You don't have those issues where, again, it gets offloaded and it's not using up your data and your processing, sending files and retrieving files. So that's a tip. If you're working on a big project and you're having performance issues, slide it over to on my iPad to do your changes. So let's get in and zip this up. So to zip up a file, it's actually integrated natively in iOS 13 and iPadOS 13. So this is why I recommend upgrading. If you haven't, you'll need to use the Shortcuts app, and I won't be able to show you in detail here, but there is a video. If you search Pete Johns Zip on the YouTubes, there'll be a video that you can learn how to set up your own shortcuts for zipping and unzipping if you're on an earlier version of iOS. So we've selected select, because that's the way we select things, and we're going to tap on the Zip Demo Project, and we're going to tap the More button because we don't want to share or duplicate or move or delete. We want to do something different. We're going to tap More, and hey, hang on. Why don't we have zip? Why don't we have compress? Oh no. What? This is weird. That is where the compress button is. I'm sure of it. That is so bizarre. Let's tap and hold on this and see if we get different options. Okay. No. What on earth happened to my compress? This is very weird. When I was demonstrating this before, there was a compress option. We'll go back to on my iCloud drive and we'll come in here. Let's just try this on a different one that's actually downloaded perhaps. Tap and hold. No. Select. Tap. More. This is very, very strange because I'm sure we have a compressed and an uncompressed. That's how I have zipped and unzipped files. If someone can help me here, I'm probably doing something wrong and it's probably super obvious, but I don't quite know what has gone on here because I was positive that the way that we compress a file is to select it and then select compress. But I can't for the life of me get it to do it. That's so strange. Let me pull out my iPhone. Where did I put that? It's over here. Let's pull out my iPhone and see if I'm not just making things up. If it does the same on my iPhone, then I've lost the plot. So, or am I in GarageBand? Oh, am I in GarageBand? Okay, I did this on purpose because what I'm in at the moment is I'm in GarageBand. I'm not in Files. And the reason that it's not actually showing this stuff up is that I've got to be in my Files app. The deceptive thing is that they look exactly the frickin' same. And yes, I said frickin', sorry. I have to be careful with that. Sometimes the auto transcribe, when I say that word, makes it another word. So maybe I should just stop using that word. So yes, if you're in, look how similar this looks. You're in GarageBand. Apart from the big GarageBand in the top left corner, everything else looks exactly the same. But if we double tap and we go over to Files, it'll say Locations. And now drum roll, please, because if it doesn't work this time, you can say, Pete, you're a fraud. We'll select, we'll go that one, we'll go more. Yay! All right, we can compress. So let us hit the compress button. That'll zip up this project. That'll create the zip file. Phew, I thought this was going to be one of those days, like I'm 45 minutes late and then I can't do the one major function I was going to show you how to do. So we have our zip project file here. We are good to go. And you might be thinking, that's cool. Now we've got it on my iPhone or my iPad, but I want to back this sucker up. I want to send it to the cloud. We can do that quite easily because we can just copy it straight over. If you've got your Google Drive or your OneDrive or your Dropbox or your Box.net or whatever you use, you can have them installed on here. And I'll touch on that in a moment as to how you actually do that. So what we do is select again. And this time we're going to select the zip file, zippity-doo-dah. We are going to hit the move button. Now, move and copy kind of mean the same thing. It'll change to copy when you're moving it to somewhere that's not the same location. So the reason it says move is that I could move this, and if I leave it on my iPad or iPhone, it's going to just move it to the different location there and actually remove it from here. So if I tap on move, and as soon as I select a document outside, a location outside of there. So let's say I wanted to put this in my Google Drive. We'll go to Google Drive, we'll go to GarageBand, and let's just go to projects. So I'll put it in my projects folder. We tap on copy, and yes, it changed from move to copyright, and it leaves it here because it says, well, I don't trust that you don't actually want this anymore. And because it then has to upload it, it does take a little bit of time to upload it. So while it's uploading, you don't want it to then fail on the upload to the other location, and then you've lost it completely. So do not delete this file until you have verified that it's actually been uploaded to the other location. So let's do that now. We'll go over to Google Drive, and we will go to GarageBand, and we will go to projects. And we should find right there zip demo project.zip. So if I then shared this one directly to anywhere else, I only must turn notifications off on my iPad. Sorry if that's annoying you and triggering you because it's kind of annoying me. So yes, now I've got this zip file right here on my Google Drive. I can now share this folder, and I'll show you, I might show you that in the actual Google Drive because you can't really share it from here. You need to go into your Google Drive app and then share it from there. You'll get a link. You can change all your permissions. You can either make it private and just email it to one person, or you can do what I'm going to do, make it public, and then put a link out there. So in the next day, I hope, I'll get this project completely cleaned up, and I'll be sharing it like this. So if we want to bring this back, so let's say you have got this and someone has sent you a link to this and you've downloaded it. To bring it back in and then to re-unzip it, all you need to do is copy it. So go to whatever platform it is that you've got it in. So your Dropbox, your Google Drive, whatever. Using Safari is fine. You've got that download manager in Safari, which is super cool. And if you don't know about that, we'll run out of time to show you all this stuff. But if you search Pete John's download, or Pete John's Download Manager, you can check out the new Safari Download Manager. It's very cool. And however you get to the file, when you've linked it from the YouTube video, it'll bring it into here, and then you can just unzip it. So let's just say we wanted to, for the sake of this, we'll just tap, and we'll tap on this one. We'll move again, remembering that it's probably going to copy, depending where we move it. And say we just tap, just so that you can see it's going to go to a different location. Let's go to iCloud Drive and GarageBand for iOS. Oh, why is it not letting me move that? That's weird. Okay, so let me put it in iCloud Drive. It must not like it in, it doesn't like it in GarageBand for iOS. Let's just throw it in my downloads folder for now. We'll copy it to there. So it's going to copy it over from Google Drive to downloads. That should be now done. And you saw there it was only a 6 megabyte file and it still took that long. So keep that in mind that it is going to take a while. Here it is, zipproject.zip. As soon as we tap on it, opens it up, recovers our GarageBand project. We tap on that one and it is going to open it. Is it? Where did it go? It didn't open it. And now it's opened GarageBand, but yeah, it hasn't actually opened the project file. This is a weird one. Let's go back. We've lost our downloads. iCloud Drive. Downloads. There it is. It's right there. It's doing its thing. Why didn't it open? Tap it. Now it's working. Okay, sometimes it just doesn't work the first time you tap it, and then it does. So, yeah, we're all good. So that this file has gone on a magical journey from my iPad location to Google Drive. I've then re-downloaded it from Google Drive back to my iCloud Drive. I've then reopened it here, and we'll play it, and we're back. So, it is as simple as that. Oh, that's a little cool drop. It is as simple as that. When you get the file, when you've download a file, you've got the zip file, download it to your downloads folder, you'll just tap it, it'll be there. And then, of course, if you want to, don't really want to be playing with it out of your downloads folder, then, of course, you can tap select, you can tap on this one, and you can move it using all those same functions to your own iCloud Drive, your own on my iPad, wherever you want it to be. So that is the basics. Excuse me. I've got some other things in my notes here that we're going to jump back and cover, but how about we actually spend some time with the folks that are kind enough to be here live. If you are getting some value out of this today, if you've got a few aha moments and you've learned something here, hit the like button. That tells me that, yes, you're enjoying this sort of content and you want me to do more like this. I know it's not the shiniest sort of content that's in the world, but it's the sort of stuff that once you know it, it so helps your workflow. Like you can make much cooler music if you've got the file management side of things, the backups, the sharing, you got that down pat, then it's going to make things a lot easier. I'm going to have to go back in time to see, because we've got a lot of comments here. Marcus Manderson's joined us. Hello to you. Great to have you. Mr. Rad says, yes, when I plugged the cable into the headphones, the iPad farted. It did indeed. It had some problems there because I didn't turn the volume on my mixer down, and you got that like when you're plugging in a guitar into a guitar amp. iPad Beats Jam Out. Okay, that's a very cool name for a channel. I'm going to have to check you out. Hello from the Maryland in the USA. We've got Mitchell McKenzie here. How you going? Hope you're well. Hello, Kurt Lorenz. Always good to see you here and to get to say your name, Lorenz, and roll my R's for some reason. A little bit strange. Yes, and I think that the audio share files are the ones you share with audio share. They are indeed. I've got a question here. Does Reflector 3 work with Android? So Reflector 3 is the what I use to share my iPad screen onto the screen. No, it doesn't, because it's only AirPlay, so it only supports AirPlay. I'm sure there's a solution for sharing mirroring a screen image out for yeah, I'm sure, but I don't know. Popular B, awesome. That was a while ago, so I don't know quite what was awesome, but I'm glad to hear it. Goth Demon 666. Hello to you. Hello to Tank on cleaning. Always good to have you here. Leslie, hello from New Jersey. I won't do my New Jersey accent, but yes, I like New Jersey because it's near New York. And Go Rangers won their home opener, got their second game starting in, pucks dropping into 10 minutes, if I get my timing right, if it is actually the right time this time around. So Rick has a question from back when can we skip duplicating it then? Yeah, so I did the duplication. When you saw me doing that before, the reason I duplicated it was to create a second copy. You don't always need to duplicate it. I just get into that habit because I like my version control and I like duplicating so that I don't lose my original work if I do a bunch of stuff and then realize that it's not the stuff that I wanted to do. Your GarageBand for iOS folder gotten deleted. That's weird. I didn't even know it would let you do that. But it doesn't really matter. As you would have seen there, you can open and use GarageBand projects in any folder. The one folder that's important is your GarageBand File Transfer folder. And I might, let me add that to my notes because I should probably talk to that. I've gone way off script in this one. I'll just put GarageBand File Transfer and kind of covered things organically as we've gone through. But what I'll do is I'll go back to my list at the end in a little while and make sure that we've covered everything in completely. Do I play Minecraft? No, my children most definitely play Minecraft. So that's why you would see the Minecraft logo you see some weird gaming and other weird like Roblox and Minecraft. It's not me, I promise. Although I am partial. Like my children do get me to play Roblox with them occasionally, and it's kind of fun. Yeah, I'm happy to admit that. I also play Pokemon Go, so there you go. I'm pretty lame like that. Let's continue. I subscribed a couple of days ago. Thank you. I appreciate it. Very, very cool. So yeah, so we had folks trying to help me out with my problem, but yes, it was the problem that we were in GarageBand, and the GarageBand and the Files app look exactly the same, but we got there in the end, and it worked, and it's all good. Here come the drums. Here come the drums. Goth Demon. It's Carlos. It's my buddy Carlos Solarac M7. Hello to you. Just flipping down here to make sure we don't got any more questions before we go on. It is about time that Safari got a download manager. It's been a long, long time. And Goth Demon says, getting value here. Excellent. Well, let's continue back to the value. Once again, if you are here live, we'll be going for about another 20 minutes. So if you are here live and you've got a question, make sure you throw it down in there. And if it's related to GarageBand and Files, that would be preferable. If it's something left field and I can answer it quickly, I will answer it for you as well. We do have one here, which is, do you need to compress your music files when exporting to iTunes, Bandcamp, Amuse, etc.? No, and I strongly suggest you don't. So it's a really good question, Mitchell, and it's related to this sort of stuff. The reason that I'm zipping up these GarageBand project files, and I'll show you in a minute that when I export my stems, my WAV files, I'll be doing them as full resolution WAV files, is you want to only compress when you absolutely have to. If you go with that as your basic way to approach everything, is only compress your audio in terms of actually compressing the files when you actually have to. So places like Amuse and DistroKid and Bandcamp will all accept WAV files. So DistroKid and Bandcamp, I believe as well, accept 24-bit WAV files, like up to 192 kilohertz. Most of the time you'll want 44.1 kilohertz, 24-bit masters of your songs that you're going to upload. Amuse need a 16-bit master for some reason. So yeah, keep that in mind as well. But yes, definitely don't compress it, because what happens is it's actually compressed by Apple Music, compressed by Google Play, compressed by Spotify at their end. So if you compress it, and then you upload a compressed file, it gets reprocessed and recompressed. So what can happen is you can actually get double the quality loss. Well, not quite double, but you can get more quality loss because you're already compressing it, and then they're recompressing it. So yes, I definitely would suggest only uploading an uncompressed file if you can. Make sure you keep it that way. Thank you, Mr. Rads. Hold on. Thank you very much for that, for buying the song. And yeah, if you now want to remix the song, that's going to be available. So if you're joining us late, I'm showing you some of these files tips here in GarageBand, some of the ways we can share and move and copy and duplicate and zip and unzip, because I'm doing all of this so that I can actually share my GarageBand project of my most recent single called Hold On, which we'll jump back into and talk about now. I've got another question here before we jump back. Maury P, have you ever thought about making some sound packs, acoustic guitar loops in different keys and strums? Your subscribers could use them in their projects. 100%, Maury, and it's actually something, because the guitar instrument in GarageBand is, let's say, one of the weaker samples. I have thought about that especially I could do some acoustic guitar samples would be kind of cool. So I could just use, the cage system, have some C chord and some E and some D and some G and some A, and have some different strumming patterns in different keys for folks to use, because I think that would be kind of cool. The only problem is that I need to do a bit more research onto how to develop them so that they can be able to support multiple tempos, because I think there's a way to embed that sort of information in there. Otherwise, they'd be stuck at one particular tempo. Alrighty. And sorry, a few more questions, then we'll jump back over. Do you have a list of all the music platforms you mentioned before you can distribute your music on? Not really. So what I'd suggest is, basically if you use DistroKid, they're going to distribute it to pretty much every platform known to man, all of the different streaming platforms and purchasing platforms. But no, that's a good question. I don't have like a master list of all the different platforms that you can actually release to, or that your song can be released to, because there are literally a few hundred these days, different platforms you can release to. So a good question though, and something that I should probably look into. All right, let's jump back over. While our technology is playing nicely, we'll jump back over to the iPad and pick up where we left off here of what we're actually doing. So just going to go to my notes here. We've talked about locations, and we've talked about the different cloud locations you can use. Now, one thing that we haven't really covered is if you don't have Google Drive and you don't have Dropbox as locations here like I do, then what you can actually do, what you will need to do, is actually log into these first using the regular app. So the reason, if I double click here, the reason I've got some of these already open, so we'll go over to Dropbox, shall we, is that I've got Dropbox open here because you do need to log in to Dropbox first, and so download the official Dropbox app, log in, and then Files will pick up that login and it will have access directly to it. Now, if anything doesn't work in Files, which I've had happen before, you can come into the direct. So sometimes if you're uploading a large file, for instance, so when I'm uploading this file, I'll probably come into Dropbox here and I'll actually create from here and actually upload directly from this, create a folder and then upload a file directly from the Dropbox app, just because it gives me a better progress bar. It's more native. It's usually a better success rate. Once you are logged in there though, the beauty part is that here in your files, you are integrated. So it means that as soon as you tap on Google Drive, and as soon as you tap on Dropbox, it's going to actually go into whatever account you've logged into. Now, if you've got multiple accounts for Dropbox and Google Drive and you want to change them, no problem. All you need to do is go back to the app and then log in there. So I get a lot of questions from folks saying, I don't have those on here. How do I get the locations that you've got there? That's how you need to do it. You actually need to go away and do that, like log into those so that you can get the different locations. If we tap on the top here, actually, let's go back to using my mouse so you can see where I'm tapping. If we tap on the top here, we also have, oh no, that's not where it is. Where's our edit locations? I'm not in GarageBand again, am I? No, I'm in Files. I'll try to remember where the edit locations is, because I thought it was there. I thought we could actually change the locations that we had by going to a location. Or maybe I just have all the locations available so there is no edit. I think I've added everything in. But yeah, there's usually a little Dropbox there that you can actually say, yes, I want these locations in here and I don't want these ones in here as well. Now, talking of iCloud Drive storage, so you get by default, and I'm going to get this wrong. I always forget this. In fact, didn't I actually? Yeah, I did. I thought ahead. So you get, I think it's 5 gigabytes that you get. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. You get 5 gigabytes for free. Now, if you want to upgrade that, here is the upgrade options. So I'm here in Australia. So when I upgraded, which I did, I've gone for the 2 terabyte plan, which is $14.99 per month. Now, I know, you're paying Apple. You already bought an expensive device and then you have to pay them. That's why I show the other options. That's why I recommend zipping up and copying and backing up your projects to Google Drive or Dropbox, because you don't necessarily need this. I just happen to do a lot of stuff on iCloud Drive, so I have upgraded all the way up to 2 terabytes. Plus, it means that mine, my wife, and my children's iOS devices can all be backed up to iCloud at all times, and we can all share that storage. So, no, it sounds like a lot, but yeah, keep in mind that it is super useful to have. If you are in the US, which I know many of you are, I can't find you. Where are you? There's all of our European friends and the different costs that they have. And here we are for Canadians. It's $12.99. For the US, it's $9.99. Oh, losing my iPad there. So that's your monthly plan options that you have there. Let's go back to our files. So I have plenty of room on my iCloud Drive, but you may not. So again, don't forget, you get lots of storage with OneDrive, with Google Drive, with Dropbox. You can zip up your projects and back them up there. And then, of course, using the new integration with your files. In fact, let's give a demo, shall we? I'm going to grab a flash drive, hopefully. Here we go. Here's one I prepared earlier. Now, I've got my USB hub. If you missed my USB hub review, I've got a pretty cool new USB hub, the 10DAC 4-port powered hub, and that's plugged into my iPad right now. You can't see it because it's down there on my desktop, but trust me that it's there and it's doing its thing. I'm going to grab this flash drive and plug it in. So I'm going to plug it into one of these USB ports, and then I'm going to turn the port on, which is a pretty cool feature. A little blue LED pops up, and here it is on my list of file saving locations. So once again, other alternative to using your cloud storage and to using iCloud Drive if you don't want to pay for additional storage is to buy yourself some big flash drives. You know, you can get your 32, 64, 128, like up to a terabyte flash drive now. Pretty cheap. Like it's not too hard. And then all we need to do is click on here and we can actually use this to transfer our files. So if we go back, where was the one is it still in the downloads? I've lost downloads. It used to be in my favorites. There it is. So yeah, if we had this zip file here and we wanted to actually save that, all we need to do is tick on that, go move, And then this time in the locations, because we've got a USB drive plugged in, we can select that location, put it in this music folder, hit copy, and that's going to copy it over to our flash drive. So that's another cool way in iOS 13 that we can back up our files if you don't want to use cloud storage. Checking my notes, we've covered copying, we've covered moving and why they're kind of one and the same. We've talked about deleting and your deleted items folder. So your recently deleted items folder, make sure that you're spending time checking that. If you're running out of space, it's usually that's the culprit. We've talked about we haven't talked about adding folders. So let's cover that real quick because this is a trap for young players that you often can get in trouble with. So when you're scrolling through your folders like this, so you go to a folder, you tap on it like that, you tap on it like that. It can be difficult to see how do I change this view and how do I actually add a folder? And I probably need to make a video separately about this because I get this question like at least weekly. And it's you tap and you slide down, and then you get this additional row of options, but they're not there by default. So you come into your Files app, and by default it's like this. And let's say you're here, you scroll down, and then you scroll back up. Like you've got to do this sort of extra scroll down to get it. So see how it just like bounces off the top there. And it's only when I really pull down that it comes back. So you wouldn't know it's there unless you know to swipe down. And then you've got your create folder button there. So you can click on that one or tap on that one. We can create a new folder called I can't type or spell, called new, and then there you go, it pops it down there and we can start using that folder to do our thing. And yes, there's my Minecraft folder. Anyway, so yeah, we can do that. And then the other thing you can do is you can sort by name, date, size, kind of project, and then any tags if you've added those in. You've also got your view over here, so you can view it in a grid of thumbnails. You can view it in a list if you're more of a list kind of guy, which I am. I don't know why I don't do it in a list, but yeah. And then you can view it like this, which is like a embedded nested thing. Kind of looks like the old Norton Commander if you're an old person like me and you remember that. So yeah, you've got a heap of options there. We can also see down the bottom here, you can always see your space available. So that's always handy to know. So if you scroll to the bottom on my iPad or on my iPhone, if you scroll to the bottom, you can see how many items are there, but you can also see the current available space on your iPad or your iPhone, which is cool. If we do the opposite and go to iCloud Drive and we scroll down here, you can see I've got 1.71 terabytes available on iCloud Drive. So because I've got the 2 terabyte package, then I've only used 0.3, not even, of that. So yes, slightly more than the 200 gig for the lower down plan, but yeah. So that's why I need to pay for the premium plan, unfortunately. So there's different ways that you can actually change that. But yeah, remember that little pull down move because it is a trap for young players there. Right, we've talked about renaming things. We've talked about some of the common errors. So being in recent here and not browse, that's a pretty common error. And I've discovered a new common error because I even made it. And that is being in GarageBand instead of Files because they look exactly the same and you can do all the same moves except those few that are compressing and uncompressing and some of your moves and things. So be conscious of that. Stay in the right spot. You may, now if it's not working, so if things sort of crash here in Files or files aren't showing up, sometimes you'll get a can't load content or not authorized on iCloud or something like that. It's the old thing. It's close it and reopen it. So close the app, double tap or do whatever you do on your device, get rid of it. So get rid of Files there and then go back into it. And usually, honestly, 9 times out of 10, the problem is fixed up there. If you're still having problems, especially with iCloud Drive, it may be worth signing out and back in to your iCloud account. That can often work because sometimes it's just some weird authorization thing. Logging out, logging back in can work. If that doesn't work, to closing all your apps, completely shutting down your iPad or your iPhone and turning it back on. Yes, I know, but turning off and on still solves a large majority of problems. You'd be surprised. Like I've had people, their headphones aren't working. They turn their phone off and back on again and they work. It's weird, but it works. Let's talk a little bit about GarageBand projects because I know that many of you are GarageBand fans. So let's jump into this GarageBand project of mine that we were looking at. What I'll do is I'll compress the version that we have now. Will I do that? Or will that be too big? Let's just use this. We'll use Jazzy's song. So we'll use a song by my daughter here and we'll just compress this one. And then I'll show you what looks like inside a GarageBand project. So are we in Files? We'll find out more. Compress. Yep, there we go. So we'll compress this one so that we've got a zip file here now. And as you saw before, if we just click on this, it'll bring it straight up. So it'll actually do its thing. But if we come in here and I go to share, I can actually use my old shortcuts that I had set up for when you couldn't do these sort of things before. And I can actually use the unzip shortcut that I've got set up here. Again, if you're not on iOS 13 or you want to learn more about shortcuts, just search Pete Johns Zip in your favorite YouTube search engine. But if we tap on unzip here, what it's going to do is it's actually going to extract it here and it's going to show us the project there. But then it's going to give us a quick look in here. Oh no, I've done it the wrong way around. I'm going to have to do this to zip it up. Sorry. Forget that because we only get these options to view inside it when we're zipping it up. So I'm going to zip it instead of unzip it. So let's just do this again. We'll tap select and then we'll tap on this one again. And this time, instead of zipping using the easy compress, we're going to use the harder shortcut for zip down here. So we'll come down here, we'll tap on zip. And now this time, it's going to make that zip from the shortcut. It's then going to give us this option to preview. And this is what I wanted to show you because this will show us what's actually inside a GarageBand project file. So it's not a file, it's in this case 15 files. And the number of files depends on the number of tracks and the size and complexity of the project. But if we tap on preview content here, it'll actually open up and show us what should. Okay. It's totally not playing ball. I've got another video where I actually show it. So iOS 13 doesn't seem to play nicely with the way you used to be able to do it. You used to be able to go preview, and then you could literally scroll through the different files. So there were WAV files in there. There was image files of your different screens, so it can load those up. And there was like XML files to hold all of your effect settings and things like that. Yeah, there's another video which is called like what's inside a GarageBand project file. If you're really keen and you want to know that, search for that one. And I'll try and find it and put it in the links after the show as well. So let's continue on. Now, the reason that you need to zip. So let's talk about that for a moment because you might be thinking, Pete, can't I just grab this file here, the .band file, and why can't I just transfer this over wherever I want? Here's the deal. Because they are, .band files are actually folders full of other files, and they are in a Apple formatted format, they can only be supported with a Mac or an iPhone or iPad, and they will only work on my iPad and your iCloud drive location. So folks have contacted me before because they've tried to share it via email or they've tried to share it via Dropbox as the .band project, and then it's got to the person at the other end. They've tried to open it. It says, this is not a valid GarageBand project. This is corrupt. This doesn't work. The reason is that it needs to actually be compressed so that it maintains that folder structure and it's a compatible file format. So all you need to do, it's easier than ever here in iOS 13, is zip it up and then put that zip file somewhere and then send that zip file link to someone else. They just need to unzip it at their end and off they go. They can start using it. So it's easier than ever now that we have either shortcuts or you can use that direct compress option here in GarageBand. Then yeah, it makes it in the Files app, it makes it super simple to do that. Now the one final thing I was going to show you is how do we actually share these then? So it's all well and good to have your GarageBand project files, to zip them up and then to put them on Dropbox or Google Drive, but then what? How do I get them to someone? So let's just jump over to Dropbox to show you a little demo of this. So we're going to go into my GarageBand folder because that makes sense. And we'll find a zip file. So here's one of the recent projects that I did. It's a zip file of it. All we need to do is these little three dots below it. If we tap on that one, we've got all of these different options. Now, what you want to do first is probably manage your access. So if I tap on manage access here, it's going to ask who can access it. So at the moment, it's only me that can access it. What I can do here, though, is... Sorry, it's been a while since I've done this. I can go add, so access, and then I can actually add in who I want to send it to, or you can share a link, and then anyone with the link can view it. So if I tap share link here, then it'll pop up, and it will actually ask me where I want to share that link to. So all I need to do is copy the link, and there you go, link copied. So that's now on my clipboard, and that means that I can now share this with anyone. That link's there. I can go to Facebook. I can go to YouTube if I want to, which is what I'll do. Eventually, I can go to my email program, and then I can share that. So you can control it that way. We'll just go back and show that again. If you just tap the copy link button, that's a quick way to get to there as well. You can share directly to people. You can do it directly in there. So you can manage this however you want. If you want only one person to be able to get access to it, just share with them. They'll get the link and only they will be able to download it. If you want to make it publicly available, you can let anyone who has the link access it, and then they'll be able to download it. They won't be able to change the file or, hack in and do anything with your other files. They'll just get access to that one file to download, and that's exactly the process that I'll be using when I actually share my GarageBand project here. So that is what we'll be doing. Now, the one final thing I wanted to show you, which is adjacent to this, because if you're not a GarageBand user, or if you want to experiment with using things on other platforms, you may be thinking, how do I get my project out of GarageBand out to somewhere else? So let's show you a few little tips for that, because I'm going to be doing these today as well, and that is exporting some stems or some individual tracks. I know stems and individual tracks don't really mean the same thing, but they're kind of close enough. So we'll come back here into my GarageBand folder. Here it is. Here's the version that we're working on, the Pete Johns Hold On GarageBand project. So we'll open up this one. There it is. And what I'll be doing is I'm going to merge each of these tracks and then export them as a WAV file. So now there's two ways to do this. I don't actually have to merge them first, but what I'm going to do is merge them all down to audio files, so they're all the same length. They're all just a blue audio file all the way through, and then I'll set the volume at about the right volume. I'll remove any of the effects, so I'll come into effects here, I'll take off the panning, I'll take off the master effects, I'll take off any plugins and EQ that I've got applied to any of my tracks, and then I'll be left with the raw WAV files. So each track will just be its own raw WAV file. Now I can save that then out as a separate GarageBand project, and maybe I'll have a version of that as well, but I know some of you will want to play around with the virtual instruments, so I'll make sure that they're in there. But then when I've got all those WAV files that are nicely centered, that are about the right volume, then I can actually export them as stems. And here's the problem. GarageBand only lets you export one track at a time. So this is going to take me some time, and that's why I didn't want all of those additional vocal tracks down here. So say I want to export this vocal here. Actually, that's a hard one because it's got a bunch of automation on it. Let's do an easier track to export. So say it was the piano. So this is what I would do to export this piano as a stem. I would hit the solo button here. I would come up to my icon here to go to my settings. I will double tap to make sure that it's panned central. I will double tap to make sure the volume is at unity, which is here, like it's about 80%, which is what the default volume is. I will turn off all echo. I'll turn off all reverb, because the idea here is that you want to give the raw track to someone else so that they can add whatever echo, reverb, anything that they want to add there. I'll go to plugins and EQ, and I'll make sure nothing is on here at all. No, nothing on there at all. So what we should now have is a completely dry piano sound. So if we hit play on this one, completely dry. Yep. So that's all cool. Now, the reason that before I export this as a stem, I'm going to merge it to an audio track is you'll see here that different tracks start at different points. And when you've got different WAV files and you want to bring them back into another platform, you want to make sure that they all start and finish at the same time. So that is why we need to actually do this. Otherwise, this one would start there, this one would start further down, and you trying to line those up would be an absolute nightmare. So to merge a track, you've probably seen this 100 times because I've done it plenty of times before. We tap on the track, we tap it again, we go merge. Now, this is where it gets annoying because it creates a duplicate copy of your track every single time you merge. So afterwards, I'm going to have to go back and delete like 20 different versions of that track. So it's going to merge this particular track into this project. It's going to normalize it. And then instead of that piano track, we now have, where does it put it at the bottom? We now have this merged track, which is our piano track. And again, the beauty part is it starts there and it finishes there. Now, what I'll probably need to do is I'll reduce this down because we don't need all this silence at the end. So I'll change the bars up to like 129 or something before I do this formally, but you get the gist here. And then what we need to do, if we solo that particular track, and we'll just take a listen. Just our standard piano track here. So that's that one. Now to get rid of this, to export this, we leave that solo button on so that we make sure it's actually soloed. We come back to our project like so, And then here we go. We've already got these copies. It's going to get painful for me to do. So yes, please say thank you. If this is something you want, say thank you because it's going to take some time to do. But what I tend to do is I will rename it. And that's why I probably don't need this big long name here. Let's just delete that. So I'll call it sort of Pete Johns, hold on, and then it'll be whatever the track number is, and then the name of the instrument. So I'll go like 05, and then piano. It's not track 5, but you get the gist. So that the project is called that. The reason for that is it makes it easier then, so I know that I'm soloing and exporting the piano here. I can then go select up in the top right. I can tap on that file. I can then share it down in the bottom left here, and then share it as a song file. And this is where folks are asking about the type of files. Always use your 44.1 kilohertz 24-bit WAV file. I'm going to tap on share, and then that is going to export just that one out here. So if we come down, we can save it. Now I'll save it to files here because I want to put all of these files in one particular folder. So in hindsight, I should have set up the folder I want to export these all to first, but I'll do all of that afterwards. So it's going to export this file. It's going to take a little bit of time because it's having to render down that WAV file and get everything ready to go. So once it finishes exporting, I'll show you where it puts that WAV file. And then all you need to do is zip up all those WAV files into one zip file, and then you can share the stems of your song. So that is the way that we actually can export an individual track. And yes, there's sadly no way to just say, solo all of these tracks and export all of them at once. That would be great. A lot of other DAWs have that function where they can actually just do that. And again, the reason that you want to render it down to an audio track before you export it, even though it then does render it as an audio track, is that you want to make sure that everything starts and finishes at the same time, so that when someone then imports it into Audacity or Reaper or Pro Tools or whatever other digital audio workstation they want to use, then it's all going to line up and it's going to be fine. This is a really long exporting process, isn't it? This is going to take me a while to do all this today because I'm going to have to do this track by track. But that's okay. It'll be fun. And hopefully it'll be worthwhile. There it goes. It is finished now. It has saved that, and now we can choose where we want to put it. So you can see there it's a WAV file. I'll just pop it in my iCloud drive under my music folder for now. Yeah, I'll just put it straight in there. We'll save it in there. And then if we go to iCloud Drive, up here in the top, press done to get rid of our select. Go to iCloud Drive. We will go to my music folder again, and it'll be right in here. I need to take my own advice and do better file management. There it is. Now the reason, and actually I got this question during the week, so I'll answer this question and then we'll answer any questions from the live folks, and then we will let you get back to your day, because I know it's been a long one, but again, hopefully it's had some value for you and given you some tips about how to manage your projects and your files here in iOS. So the reason we can't do anything with this is, again, we are in GarageBand. So GarageBand will only let you open GarageBand files, so we can't actually open this WAV file. Now, if we wanted to import this back into GarageBand, let's show you how we do that in a moment. But if we want to just play that, if we just double tap and go back over to Files, where we were before, now if we go to iCloud Drive, and if we go to Music, and we find this file, there it is. So if we want to just play this, we can just open it in our audio player, and hit open, and it will open it up, and we can just hit play. Now the reason it's got all this silence at the start is because it had all those bars of silence, but if we tap further down, bring that playhead down. Oh, that's right. It's got the new version, you slide over to the left to go. There we go. And you can hear just how out of time my piano playing is when it's by itself. It needs comfort and support of the rest of the tracks. So that's there. Now we can't open this in GarageBand. We can't even view it in GarageBand. But if we had a new project in GarageBand, so say we came to GarageBand here, we'll go into my iPad. Oop, where's it gone? It has a little hiccup sometimes. It's like I'm not gonna. Yeah, okay, I'll work. Let's create a new song. And what you'll notice is if we go into Audio Recorder, what we can actually do is actually import these tracks. So we firstly need to make sure that we have it as automatic here for our song length. And then if we... Oh, where is our, oh, we're not, we're in the wrong spot. In our track view, thought I was going insane there for a moment. We can use our loop icon here in the top right corner to actually import any of the files. So here it's actually given us our GarageBand File Transfer folder, which I will talk about in just a moment, but we can browse down the bottom here, browse the Files app and go to anywhere. So we know where we were, where we wanted to be. It was in Locations, it was in iCloud Drive, and it was in Music. And there it is. So we want to bring in this piano WAV file. It'll import it here. It'll put it in our GarageBand File Transfer folder, and then we can just drag it. Oh, dragging with the mouse doesn't seem to work. Yeah, no, it won't. So I'm going to have to use my finger. Tap and hold and drag it over and release. There it is. So there's our piano track again, imported back into a blank, fresh project. So if you did get a bunch of files, so say someone sent you from a different DAW and they sent you a bunch of WAV files in a zip file, you can bring them into your GarageBand project just like that, just one at a time. As long as they line up at the start and the finish, then they're all going to line up there together and you're going to be good to go. Now, one final thing, let's talk about that GarageBand File Transfer folder. So we'll go back over to Files again. What you'll notice is that on my iPad or on my iPhone, under GarageBand for iOS, we have this one here, GarageBand File Transfer. And this is what actually shows up in that little loops section. So whenever you want to import files into GarageBand, you'll either bring them in like I just did then, and that will put a copy in here. So you'll notice we've got a copy of that file in here already. Or if you just dump them straight into here, they'll already be there. When you go to that little loops icon in GarageBand, they'll already be there for you to tap and drag and bring into your project. So that's a couple of additional tips there. But the reason that you have that file transfer folder there under GarageBand is that that's where it keeps all the stuff that you want to bring into your project. So it's a handy folder to have and handy to know what its purpose is. Whew, okay, I think I need a drink and then we'll see if we've got any final questions and we'll finish up here because we've been going, we've gone over time, but again, hopefully there was some value in all of this for you. All right, so what have we covered today? We've talked about locations, your different cloud locations, and you're on your iPad or on your iPhone storage. We'll just jump back over here. We've talked about that. We've talked about cloud storage and upgrading your iCloud storage if you so desire, using Google, using Dropbox with your iPhone and iPad projects as well. Talked about copying, moving, deleting items, using your deleted items folder or your recently deleted and why that's important. We even threw in a little demo of a flash drive there, which was kind of fun. How to view your different file types and add folders, how to rename your files, some of the common files errors that you might get and how to rectify them, turn it off and on, pretty much it. What's in a GarageBand.band file, why they're not compatible with other platforms and why you need to make sure you zip them up when you're transferring them, what the GarageBand File Transfer folder is, how to export stems or WAV files from your project, and then how to import them back in again using that GarageBand File Transfer. So, that is quite a bit that we've been through in just over an hour. So if you've stuck it out, you deserve a medal. Hopefully that helps you with your future GarageBand projects. Let's come back and see if we do have any other questions because we've got quite a bit of chatter that has gone on since I've finished up here. So we'll drop back onto the chat here. We chatted to Maury about his idea there. Ultimato, hello to you. Always great to have you here. Does Dropbox have dark mode? That's a good question. When I was showing dark mode, it was showing Dropbox. It didn't actually show that, which is very weird. And we'll continue on. Are there any other questions? So a question here or a comment here from Maury. Magic's Music Maker does support sound pools in 7 pitches. Okay. Magic's Music Maker. You can download their free Windows Store to study their template. There you go. That's a good. So that was around creating those different loops that we were talking about before. That perhaps I should create some loops for that. Yes, Amarasaya. Yes, the iCloud storage cost. Yes, if I didn't have probably 7 different devices and 4 family members, paying $15 a month for that additional storage, wouldn't be so great. A question here from Mitchell. What's the name distro? Who dist your music? DistroKid. So if you're looking for a distributor, the 2 that I recommend are DistroKid who you can upload your music. I actually have a video, if you see a couple of videos back where I released my Songtember video, I used DistroKid, and you can also use Amuse, which is an online distributor, and they will distribute your music for you to all of the different places. We have Solarac. What if I copy a folder that has other folders and files in the folders? Does that work? Yes. So if you copy or move, it will move anything within that folder or file. But a very good question. So yeah, you don't have to just move and copy files. You can move, copy entire. So just like you can in Windows Explorer or any other file manager, you can move and it will take the hierarchy of that folder structure from that place and put it in the other place. And you can even zip up a folder. So your zip files, your compressed files, you can compress a folder, which is what I'll be doing for, I didn't really show it in detail there, but I'll have a folder full of WAV files. I'll compress that into one zip file. That's what I'll share on Dropbox. Folks can download the zip, they'll uncompress it, it'll show all of the folder full of files. And if I wanted multiple folders to have little subsections, subfolders, it would show them as well. PJ says, how do you get that cursor to show what you're talking about on the iPad screen? I teach using iPads and that would be useful. Yeah, so that is the mouse support that we have now. So you do need to be using iOS 13. You do need to have usually a wireless mouse works best because you can plug in the USB dongle, and you do need a Lightning to USB adapter. I recommend the Lightning to USB 3 adapter, but the adapters sell for around $30 for the genuine ones, and I do recommend the genuine ones. And then all you need is a wireless mouse to plug in. You turn on the accessibility function and you get yourself your pointer, so you can point and show things. So yeah, it's actually pretty cool. So using Reflector 3, which is the software I use to mirror my iPad or my iPhone to my PC, and then using the mouse, it means that my tutorials can actually be a lot easier to follow, I'm hoping anyway, because you can see exactly where I'm clicking and tapping around. So hopefully that helps out with that question. Hello, Jade Star. Better late than never. Yes, great to have you here as always. Excellent. Let's see if we've got any other questions before we finish up. Folks talking about the tags function and if they use that with their files. I have used it. I don't tend to use it much these days. Sorry. I'm just seeing if we've got other questions. So Jade says you don't need to merge. You don't need to merge it. I do drum with drums in Audio Pro. You don't need to merge each track before exporting because, as you said, it creates copies. Yeah, so the only thing I've run into trouble with is with virtual tracks, where when you've only got a virtual track soloed and playing, it starts the song from the start of the virtual track instead of from the actual start of the track. So I think you're right. If you had all audio tracks and they were all lined up at the same point, you wouldn't need to merge them. So I wouldn't need to merge my vocals and my bass and my guitars, as long as they all start at the exact same start point in the GarageBand project. But I think for virtual tracks, the reason I've merged them is I've been in trouble before. What iOS version is Pete on? I'm on version 13.1.2, which is the latest iOS version, which is why I have cool things like mouse support, like USB flash drive support, like dark mode, and all the other goodness that we have from the latest version. So we've got Thomas Gillane. I found you can export to iMovie through Audio Share. It's a bit more troublesome, but it works. Yeah, so one thing that's disappeared from GarageBand is the ability to export the audio directly into iMovie, which was a handy feature we had before. What you can do, as Thomas is saying there, is you can export the file, you can save it to your files in Audio Share or just in your Files app. You can then go into GarageBand, you can create a new video with what video file you want to use, and then you can import your audio over the top. So yeah, it's possible to do, but it used to be so much more handy, and I don't think that's it. All right, I'm going to have to spend more time with this because Jade says all the files will start at the same time without merging. I'm definitely going to try it out because, yeah, I didn't think it would work with virtual files, but I'll be doing it all afternoon, so I'll definitely try your method first and then only come back if it doesn't work that way. Mitchell says, if I delete folder name downloads, will it reappear when you download music file again? Yes, I think I even did that. So I think it only appears when you go to the download manager in Safari and download your first file. And then I'm pretty sure if you delete it, as soon as you download a new file, it will re-add it in there for you. So yes. Mr. Rad's Variety Channel. If you have an 8-bit 44 and you export it, will it be 8-bit song? Yeah. So if you're going for like some old school chip tune kind of song, thing is though that I'm not like you could export it as 8-bit, but then you'd probably still want to master it as like not. I don't know. I haven't played around with that enough. It's been a long time since I've had to do anything 8-bit, so no, I don't know. Would be my question to that answer to that. We've got a copyright question. Pete, will experimenting with your song, are they allowed to share their remixes? Yes, 100%. So I have released this on DistroKid. I deliberately haven't released it using a content ID for YouTube. So I'm going to, when I put it out, I'm going to say this is Creative Commons, which means that you can use it to your heart's content. You can use the song to remix it. You can release it on your YouTube channels. The only thing that I'll say is, not to release like a monetized version. So yeah, I'm pretty comfy and pretty happy for folks to use it. Use it in your resume or your repertoire if you're doing a remix and you want to show people how you mix things up, or and you want to share it with me. Yeah, I'm all for that. I don't. I'm not big on copyright. Like again, it's all just reasonable stuff, and I know no one that's going to go to the effort of downloading all of my samples and like all of my project files or all the WAV files is then going to go away and try and make $1 million from my music. So you're going to do it for your own fun and your own entertainment. But I definitely want to let you, if you want to, just distribute it, put it on your YouTube channel, put it on SoundCloud, do what you need to do. It'll be kind of fun. I'd actually be humbled if anyone wanted to go to that effort for that. Alrighty, we will have to finish up there because we're way over time. And it is Sunday morning here, so I've got the reason I was late is that I was actually doing work in the garden. Like I've still got the dirt in my fingernails, like you can actually see. Like I'm not joking. I was literally out in the garden and then got confused by daylight saving time, and then came running in here. Went oh crud. So yes, once again, sorry for those that were here on time, but again, hopefully we got some value out of all of this. I'll do my ending spiel and then we'll be done. So if you would like to check out more videos, go to studiolivetoday.com. You can also check out my gear guide there. If you thought some of the things I used here were cool, the lightning to USB adapter that I use, the USB hub I've been reviewing lately. I've even got coming up, here's a tip, coming up I've got a review of this one. I've finally splurged, even though it's had some dodgy reviews, I've got the 3.5mm charge Rockstar so that I can charge and use a 3.5mm jack at the same time, which is super important for my demonstrations here from my iPhone. So I'll let you know how that goes because I've not heard great things in the past about that. So my mileage may vary, as I often say. Yes, if you want to support me, feel free to do so. You can. There's links down below where you can make a one-time donation. You can also be a patron over at patreon.com/PeteJohns, and you can check out all the stuff there. You can also join the mailing list at studiolivetoday.com and all the other ways to contact me and check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and every other platform in the known universe is also there in the description. You can check out at the same time. Thank you very much for your time here today. I hope you got some value, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, folks.